Ladies and gentlemen, boneddigion a boneddigesau, welcome to Mumbles. Croeso i'r Mumbles. My name's Adrian Metcalf of Lighthouse Theatre, based here in Mumbles, and with Mumbles Community Council, we're about to embark on the first of 4 small walks showing the highlights of our village. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Stumbles Through Mumbles.
In this strange time in which we find ourselves, it is sadly no longer possible for us to welcome you in person to Mumbles, to see and experience the special delights we have to offer. So Mumbles Community Council have asked us to produce a few short films of our village to allow you to see some of the sights at home and to know what to visit when you do come here in the future. We are Lighthouse Theatre, and we run literary walking tours of the village through the summer months. These 4 films will reflect a little of these tours. Like almost all Welsh villages, towns and cities, we have our own castle, Oystermouth. The first stones were laid in the early 12th century by the Norman Guillaume de Londres, William of London to you and me, but it was soon taken and burnt by the Welsh. It jostled back and forth between the Welsh and the Normans for a century or so, and finally, in the early 13th century, the lordship of Gower, and with it the castle, was given to John de Breos, a surname familiar to any Swansea or Gower person. By the end of the 13th century, it was their chief home too. In 1461, it became the property of the Herbert family, and remained in the hands of their descendants, the Dukes of Beaufort, about whom more later, until 1927, when it was given to the Swansea Corporation. You can visit it in the summer months. It's open between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. It has fabulous views over Mumbles, a great courtyard to reenact games with the kids, and a wonderful park area for relaxation. But don't stay after 5 p.m. whatever you do. You may bump in to the White Lady. From here, we walk down Castle Avenue towards the Ostream Centre, a community centre and the offices of the Mumbles Community Council. A short walk further up the hill on the right towards Newton Road will lead to the Top Shops, or Siopa Gora in Welsh. All Welsh speakers will know the best shops are in Mumbles. A safe crossing of the road in the other direction will lead you down Castle Crescent. This quiet road takes you past the back of Castle Arcade, where there's been an entertainment venue for almost a century. It was here, in the 1950s, that the prize-winning author Kingsley Amis experienced its delights as the Casino Ballroom. You can read about it in his short story, Age-Old Ceremony at Mumbles. As well as other local businesses, you can still enjoy cafe play in the same place. Here again you can see that word, Ostream, this time spelt without an E. Is Ostream Old Norman French, Outremer, across the sea? Is Oystermouth from a Norse phrase, Westermut, the western mouth? Does the name Mumbles come from the Norman French mamelle, the word for breasts, from the 2 islands at the tip of Mumbles Head? Or does it come from Man Moel, the Old Welsh for something like Old Hilly Place? We don't really know. But if you read Real Swansea by the late Nigel Jenkins, a great Mumbles literary voice, you may be able to hazard a guess. But what we do know is that in this gateway to Gower, to paraphrase Dylan Thomas, we speak with a peculiar accent. We speak with the Mumbles.
English, Welsh, Norman French, Gower dialect, all the languages mixed together here in Mumbles. And we're now about to walk down what we call in our part of the world a drang. Follow me down the alleyway.
Walking down the drang, we come out onto Newton Road, turn left and walk over the road to Oystermouth Square. Here, for many years until 1960, stopped the oldest passenger railway in the world. The Mumbles Railway was famous the world over, and first took passengers from all the way over by there in the centre of Swansea to visit us over by here in 1804. Back then it was an industrial horse-drawn affair, but passengers arrived proper in 1807. In 1929 it was converted to electric trams, 200 people seated. Here it is, pulling in to where we're now standing. It was closed in 1960, and now the rails are gone, converted to a foot and cycle path. But there are still some remnants left. Leaving Oystermouth Square, we continue along the pathway towards Southend. From here you get a great view of the wide expanse of the bay. The tidal range of Swansea Bay is about 10.5 metres, the second highest tidal climb in the world. It makes for a spectacular range of sights from the same vantage point over the year, and was even compared favourably with the Bay of Naples by none other than the 19th century author Walter Savage Landor, who lived in the area for a while. Moving on, we now return to the road, passing the Antelope Hotel, sometime haunt of Dylan Thomas, and crossing onto the parade to move back towards Oystermouth. We pass our Boole pitch, our crazy golf course, and Mumbles RFC. Just visible through the beautiful wild flowers on the council's wild garden, you can see that the clubhouse is called 1887, the founding date of the club, and there are some great records of past glories and players inside. Close to the club is a memorial fountain dedicated to the marriage of Edward, Prince of Wales, and Princess Alexandra way back in 1863. The land was donated to Mumbles by, guess who? The Dukes of Beaufort again. 40-odd years later, Prince Edward, by now King Edward VII, came to visit Mumbles on the train. I always like to think he said, "Drive, can I stop to take a look at the fountain?" We move on now to All Saints' Church, a church so steeped in history we could lead a 2-hour walking tour of this place alone. It is built on land where there are traces of Roman occupation. The church is first mentioned in writing in 1141. There are the bells of Santiago, the memorial window to the Mumbles lifeboat disaster of 1947, and fascinating tombs and gravestones. These, from the 19th century, show a French sailor who perished in the bay, and a Mumbles man who died in the infamous Women of Mumbles Head disaster of 1883. A fabulous poem celebrating these deeds was written by Clement Scott. But for the literary tour, the most interesting memorial is that of Thomas Bowdler.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are next to the memorial stone sacred to the memory of Thomas Bowdler, the man who gave us Bowdlerisation, the man who made Shakespeare fit for the masses. All of those books that you read when you were young, in which the rude bits were taken out of Shakespeare, that's Bowdlerisation. He created Shakespeare for the family. And here he is, in the graveyard of All Saints' Church.
Our village has many more literary and historic gems that wait to be discovered, but only when we're accepting visitors again. Over the next few weeks, we will introduce you to some more on film. We will leave you now with a few lines from a poem by David Hughes, Swansea boy, see, in which he talks about the Mumbles Railway. I've been in that Maritime Museum. They've got a bit of an old Mumbles train there. I remember that when I was a kid. Used to put halfpennies on a line for the trains to go over them, so he's get as big as pennies. Try him in a chewing gum machine, see? All the family used to go down to Bracelet in the summer on that old train, even the old man. You could move his seats, so you all sit together. They still make a lot of fuss about that train. You'd think it was the only thing that had been taken away from you.